Televiewers of Info Television, thanks for joining us once more on your favorite program, Game of Thrones on Info TV here in Yaoundé. Of course, today we'll be treating the two major topics that are of great importance, which are strikes, concerns, of course, concerning the demise of Anise Ekane in Cameroon. Question we'll be asking our panelists in the course of this program is actually what happened during his death or after his death. A lot of statements has been pouring out, with state authorities making statements, and even the political party leaders in Cameroon supporting his party also are coming out with a lot of statements. And of course, we have a bunch of panelists that are going to, of course, deliberate on this particular topic. Aside that, we'll be extending our interest in concerning the strikes that, of course, are manifested in Menganga in the Adamawa region. Is this strike legitimate? Of course, truck drivers were disgruntled concerning the situation that unfolded in that part of the country. And of course, Cameroonians are asking the questions. Are these truck drivers, of course, do have the legitimate right to perform such an activity or to carry out strikes? Of course, we have panelists that are of great importance with us. Those people that, of course, their faces are familiar, and they are going to deliberate on these two major topics. And on my left, we have a barrister, of course, somebody you know very well. He's no other person than Barrister Michael Lekelefak. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Mr. Phillips. Good evening to my co-panelists, and good evening to the millions of televiewers of Info TV. It's my pleasure to be here this evening for us to deliberate on these two topics which are making news today in our republic, in order to see how we should forge ahead. We should reconcile in order to pave a different way, to set a different pace through which we can get out of the numerous problems that are plaguing our society. Thanks for your invitation.
Thank you very much, Barrister Lekelefak and Michael. And of course, apart from a barrister, we do have a civil society activist. He's no other person than Numfo. Of course, good evening and welcome to the program, Numfo.
Good evening, Philip, and good evening to my co-panelist. Good evening, Maitre.
Thank you, sir.
Happy to see you for the first time. Good evening to the millions and millions of televiewers who are watching us this evening on the occasion of these two very, very important and sensitive topics concerning Anise Ekane and the Meganga roadblock saga. We hope that in the course of this program, we are going to contribute our own quota towards nation building by examining the depths of these two topics.
Of course, Numfo Laosongwa, that is why we are here, and it is very obvious that Cameroonians who are watching will contribute immensely to make this program a success. Aside the civil society activists, we have the national president of the United Social Democratic Party. He's no other person than Prince Ekoso. He's here with us. Good evening and welcome to the program once more.
Good evening, fellow viewers. Good evening, fellow panelists. Good evening to our host. Once again, I am happy to be here to participate in this wonderful and august program, which I am privileged to be able to meet my dear brother. It's been long we've met, and I watched your program last week, and your contribution were very, very rich, and I believe that today also we are going to make sure that the various contributions are very rich in order to provide insight and education for our people.
Thank you very much, Prince Ekoso, the USDP and national president in Cameroon, an opposition political party in the country. Of course, we have a lot to talk about, but before we dive directly to what we have to dish to you this evening, let's do have this transition, and we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is M4 TV here in Yaoundé, and it is your program Game of Thrones. We'll commence directly with our first topic. But before we commence, the numbers that are of course on your screen, you can contribute through WhatsApp communication, or you can send direct SMS. Of course, we commence directly with our first topic on this very day, which of course is talking about the death or the demise of Anise Ekane, the president of the national president of Manidem Party in Cameroon. He died recently in Cameroon, and a lot of talks has been parading the corridors, parading various areas in Cameroon, and people do have diverse opinions. People want to know, people want to contribute, people want to, of course, participate. What is ongoing? Of course, these people are going to elaborate, give their own opinions, to make sure that they feed Cameroonians with information that they are in need of. Of course, I will commence with you, the national president of the president of the National Socialist Democratic Party in Cameroon, Prince Ekoso. You happens to be a close collaborator with the former Manidem opposition party leader Anise Ekane, who is no more. And his death to you, is it a surprise or it is something that you were expecting?
Well, no death is always expected, no matter how prepared the person might have been. Even sometimes when our very old parents want to die, and if they die finally, even after they have put up their will, when they die, the death always shock everybody. Talk less of someone like Anise Ekane, who has been a very active political figure in this country, and his death caught Cameroonians by surprise, generally. And myself, I was not expecting that he was going to die the way he died, you know, because there are a number of things that we have to consider when we want to consider that someone has died peacefully. There are a number of things that one has to take into consideration. It's true that Anise was sick. He was very, very sick. And that is why when he was arrested, I expressed a lot of worries about the state of his health and what might happen thereafter. And my fears actually finally came to rest, because I knew that the conditions in our detention centers are not always the best. Talk less of somebody who is having a heart problem, and who has been under very severe medical follow-up for a very long time. I expressed that concern. So basically, I want to use this opportunity to continue to send my condolences to the immediate family and to the members and sympathizers of Manidem, and to the entire nation, because Anise is not just an ordinary citizen. He's someone who has played a very great role with regards to the politics of this country at the level of the opposition. So we continue to mourn his passing, and we felt that even at that age, there was still a lot that Anise was supposed to contribute to the development of our democracy, and to make sure that the opposition becomes much more very active and fruitful.
Now, before his demise, of course, he was being arrested in relations to issues concerning the post-electoral tension. He died at the age of 74. Now, you had a very close collaboration relationship with Anise Ekane. Now, do you think his death actually was inspired by something that you are still doubting, or you know?
Well, like I said, Anise was very sick. He was very, very sick. As a matter of fact, I was not expecting him to be able to be very active during this political upheavals. I was not expecting him to be active.
But even being sick, he was still in detention.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That the fact that he was sick And I know that the regime and President Paul Biya has helped a lot of political leaders. And even Anise himself was in some way under the medical encouragement of some state personnel. If I don't want to say his health was being taken care of by the state, but just like we hear from Minister Atanganji, Paul, maybe he gave the perspective of his personal assistance to Anise, but Anise had expressed the fact that he was being taken care of by the establishment concerning his health. And that's why I say I felt very, very concerned when I saw him give his energy that was very, very precarious, you know, to the politics of, in fact, the election of 2025 presidential election. I became very, very worried, you know. So given the fact that he has been having some support from, let me say, members of government, I believe that it would have been wise, you know, for the state, you know, because like I said, I know a number of people that the state has taken care of their health. So it would have been wise for the state to be able to take precautions.
He was being taken he was being taken to the hospital, though under detention, meaning that the state of Cameroon provided a secure atmosphere for his health.
Yeah, I don't dispute that fact. That's what I'm trying to elaborate. But at the same time, I don't know what really transpired to actually provoke. There are many theses. There are many you know, different school of thought saying that there were times that he himself decided to avoid concentrating on his treatment, and there were times that he was concerned about the oxygen mask that was provided to him by the state, and there were many different complaints. So, like I said, the death of Anise is a very shocking thing to me, and I feel sorry that he died the way he died. And I think that this death should be able to call on a number of other issues, you know, and to call on the government to be able to take certain precautions when certain people are arrested. You know, it's not because it is alleged that somebody has committed a crime, and given the fact that the person's health is under very serious concern, we must take serious measures, because the government is not there to be able to make sure that people die. The government is there to make sure that people live, you know. So if certain measures were not taken, right, I will want to believe that it is a call for concern, and it's about time that the government looks at certain measures, because the death of Anise Kane violates a lot of certain international fundamental rights of humans. So
that's of course Prince Ekoso. The death of Anise Kane has violated certain international fundamental rights of detainees. That is what is coming from you, Prince Ekoso. I'll start our comments with you once more. Allow Sonum for Anise Kane is no more. Did you predict the death of Anise Kane? Now he is no more within the political atmosphere in Cameroon. Do you think his death was being masterminded by something? Was it caused by somebody? Was it orchestrated by some category of people?
Thank you, Phil. Before I answer your question, I would like to extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of Anise George Ekane, who is a towering figure in the political landscape of our nation. If you go memory lane down history, you will see the role that Anise played in the early 90s, you know. He, as well as Yondo Black, Henry Ekwe, Joachim Kameni, and a host of other activists were very instrumental in the rebirth of multi-party politics in Cameroon. And even after that, he played a very crucial role in the 1992 presidential election. You know that it was his platform, the platform that he created, the Union for Change, that endorsed the candidature of Ni John Frundi in the 1992 elections. And you know, from the results that were obtained, Ni John Frundi had 35%, slightly behind President Biya, who had 39%, as per the results that were declared by the Supreme Court at that time. So you see that Anise Ekane is a no-nonsense figure in the political landscape of this country. After that, he created Manidem in 1995. He was a presidential candidate on 2 occasions, 2004 and 2011. In the 2025, we saw how he endorsed the candidature of Maurice Kamto, even though it was later that candidature was disqualified. And then he later on went up to endorse and to support the candidature of Issa Chiroma Bakari, and all what you know that happened after. I want to use this opportunity again to doff my heart to all those who had earlier died in detention like him. I'm thinking of Bibingota in 2010, who equally died in police custody. I'm thinking of Samuel Wazizi, who died in 2019, and up to now, his corpse has not been handed over to his family for a befitting burial. I'm using this opportunity to appeal to the Ministry of Defense to hand over the remains of Samuel Wazizi back to his family for a befitting burial. That said, coming back to Anise Ekane, he is a towering figure in the political landscape of this country. If you have just asked whether his death was natural or some other thing, or whether his death was abnormal, well, I have 2 things to say concerning that. There is each and every one of us as human beings, we have the law of nature that works for us. When we are born, there is a day that we have to be called out of this existence. To be sick, according to African tradition, to be sick is not synonymous to death. All of us know that Anise Ekane was sick, yes, but it doesn't mean that the fact that he was sick, he had to die this year, maybe, because God is the one who has a timetable for everybody's life. Yeah. I want to believe that the police detention in which Anise Ekane found himself precipitated his death. And I want to believe that those poor detention conditions, as my brother has said, have they played a negative role in exiting our hero and our martyr from the political landscape of this country.
Civil society activists are known for Lawson. Of course, with us, Barrister Lekelefaka Michael, Anise Ekane, the opposition national president of the Manidem party in Cameroon, is no more. He's deaf. Does it ring a bell to you? Do you have an impression that it was being orchestrated, or it was a natural demise?
Thank you, my brother. I think the answer is very simple. If there is the call, if the government, he died under detention, and that there is autopsy conducted on the corpse, it is to say that his detention conditions were suspicious, and that is why they want to dispel the suspicion through the medical examination to prove that whether as the existed suspicion we have confirmed, or we are denying that his death was natural. So, not being a medical personnel, but I think from the legal perspective, saying that autopsy should be conducted means that the circumstances surrounding his death were questionable, and that is why there should be thorough medical examination, which, as we are saying, it seems to be a problem, because there might have existed some torture within that legal framework, that the autopsy was to be conducted without, or was conducted without the assistance of the family, in order to see that the results of the autopsy should be credible. So you see that his death, the conditions of the condition of his death were suspicious, and so I can only say from the facts surrounding such death to say it was somehow precipitated.
Now, do you think the condition at which he was being taken to the hospital, the manner at which he was being taken care of, does it connect with the law of the land?
Mr. Enchi, I think when you talk about connect with the law of the land, I don't want to think of which particular law which we are talking about. The Criminal Procedure Code has made it expressly clear. Medical visit, in case of a people under detention or in the prison centers, they have to be afforded proper medical attention. But we are in Cameroon, where the law says what it says, but the practitioners do what they do. With respect to the case of Anicet Ekane, I think it is alleged that on the 30th of November, his health situations, his health condition was not the best, and that the family with the legal team assisting has expressed the need for him to be transmoved from the detention center to a medical facility which could attend to it, but this application was given deaf ears.
But he was being taken to the hospital.
If he was taken, if the family are contesting and they are saying that they made an application which was given deaf ears for his transfer, and that his death now is saying that he was taken to the hospital, he was under. It is alleged that he was under the hospital unit of the Gendarmerie, National Gendarmerie, but that they asked for his transfer to perhaps a proper medical facility which could cater for his own case, but the transfer never took place. So if he died on the 1st of December, when such an allegation is being made, it means that there was no seriousness with respect to the application which was made by the family. And we cannot ignore the fact that his arrest on the 24th of October, that he was being, after his arrest, transferring him from Douala to Yaoundé, under what medical conditions was his arrest conducted? Under what conditions was he transferred from Douala to Yaoundé? We know that there are issues of his medical equipment, which
oxygen
apparatus, which is alleged that he was deprived of this apparatus. And if it later on came, at what moment did it come? Before it came, how was his health situation before it finally? So there are a lot of issues which.
Thank you very much, Barrister Lekele Faka Michael. I'll come back to you, Prince Ekosum. Recently, we have the outings of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, denying the fact that he should not be celebrated as a martyr or a national hero. Do you accept such a declaration?
Well, you know, I will not speak on behalf of the Minister of Territorial Administration, but I believe that there are certain conditions that could be attributed to someone as a martyr. And if those conditions fits Anicet Ekane, there is no one who can deny that fact. So one of the things I really want to, you know, I came to this program because, in spite of myself, because I didn't want to talk about this issue about Anicet, because it's very heartbreaking. But I want to say that our government should try as much as possible to relate with the situations of our people. It is paramount, because I will say it again, even the minister during his conversation, he mentioned that President Biya has taught them, when he said them, the College of Ministers, how to be, to carry out politics from a humanistic point of view. I want to continue to encourage, and I want to say that I know of people, Cameroonians, that have benefited from health facilities from the state and from President Paul Biya himself. And they have gone through the process and they are fine. So it is incumbent on the government to demonstrate a lot of carefulness when it comes to the detention of certain personalities, for that matter.
Prince Ekoso, the minister, of course, made declarations saying that once he had to give medical assistance to this opposition political party leader, and they had a discussion, and he informed him of some of his actions, that he should not proceed with it because it do jeopardize the peace of Cameroon. Do you think with his this attitude or his situation was being masterminded by his attitude of non-respect of the law of Cameroon? And the minister clearly emphasized on the fact that nobody is above the law, and in case you're violating the laws of the land, the law should prevail.
Yeah, there are two different things here. I am happy that we have a legal expert on the set. You know, I will not want to delve into his domain because he has a mastery of that. But there are two aspects here that you have evoked. One of them is the aspect of the application of the law, and another one is about the health of someone, which is more or less a humanistic. We must use the humanistic point of view or humanistic feelings, which Minister Atanganji emphasized that the president has asked them to always use that humanistic tendencies to approach the situations of Cameroonians. The question we must ask ourselves at this point in time is, did the humanistic point of view apply?
When you talk about Cameroonians, are you generalizing everybody, or
that is what the minister? I'm just quoting the minister's words. That's what he said. Now, the question I'm trying to ask here is that did this humanistic tendency applied in the case of Anise? Because Anise's case was very clear to everybody. He was sick.
Cameroon is a state of law,
excuse me, you have asked me a question with regards to the statement of Mr. Atanganji. Minister Atanganji knows Anise Ekane very well, personally. Okay, and it is incumbent also on the minister to be able to make sure that the conditions under which Anise was arrested, given his health situation, there were certain dispositions that he, for example, or the government was supposed to take in order not to be able to lead us into this point in time where we are here trying to justify or not to justify the situation surrounding the death of someone. The death of Anise Ekane is not a good topic to discuss about in this point in time of our history. As a matter of fact, it goes
meaning he's not a martyr. He should not be accepted as a martyr.
I am not concerned about that. That is a legal point of view, which my brother at the opposite side will be able to talk about it. Whether
he's crowned a martyr or a national hero, is it from a legal standpoint?
I'm not going to discuss about that, please. I am discussing the issues of humanity, which has to do with the health of the late President Anise Ekane, and which I will continue to say that President Biya has demonstrated many largesse to such kind of people to make sure that their health is strong, especially Anise Ekane. He was supposed to have been taken in a very serious and different condition, given his health, and the Minister of Territorial Administration, Minister Atanganji, knows the intensity of the health situation of Atanganji, of Anise Ekane before his arrest. So I am just saying that we should do as much as we can to avoid us finding ourselves in such a circumstance where people like that die in circumstances that are very questionable.
So if actually Anise Ekane knew the condition of his health situation, why then did he continue intensifying or collaborating with other party leaders to intensify ghost towns and other acts of vandalism in the country?
Well, I'm not too sure whether Anise Ekane made a public statement asking Cameroonians to go down to the streets.
Why then was he detained?
Excuse me. I am trying to be very, very careful with my words. I am not too sure that in Anise Ekane, there's anywhere in any declarations, any document where Anise Ekane asks Cameroonians to go on the street. That burden should be on Issa Chiruma, which we have discussed it on this same program some time ago. You know, the person who asks Cameroonians to go on the street is known. I don't think Anise Ekane's signature is in any document asking Cameroonians to go on the street. That notwithstanding, like I said, like you also said, I and President Anise Ekane became very close at the tail end of his life. Very, very close. You know, and I remember I spoke with him on the phone some few days before the election. And I think that if I had the possibility to be able to advise him to be able to really restrain himself from being at the forefront of this political activity in this 2025 presidential election, I would have done so, because I was very much concerned about his health, because I and him sat very closely at one point in time, and I questioned, I told him that, Monsieur le President, your health is not the best. He just laughed, he smiled like, as usual, and he said that ça va aller. You know, but I was very, very concerned about his health, because I knew the intensity of, maybe I didn't know the particularity of the sickness he was suffering from, but from the frailness of his physique, you could tell that something is not right. And in that circumstances, I, for one, I was always treating him with a lot of care each time that I met with him. So those are the things that I'm trying to emphasize on, that President Paul Biya has helped many people, and even Minister Atanganji said that he helped Anise Ekane at one point in time. You know, so we should be able to try as much as possible to be careful, to see that people of that nature don't die in circumstances that we find ourselves now in front of the world to want to give justifications why he died and why he did not die. You know, so it is about our public image, the image of the country.
Thank you very much, Prince Ekoso. I'll come to you, the civil society activist and known for Lawson. And he said to you, he died in a situation that you yourself, you're not happy about it. But of course, he was under the custody of the security forces. And at the end of the day, a communique was being set aside by the Ministry of Defense, saying that investigation will be carried out. This, of course, is an evidence that his death was linked somewhere else, not in relation to his detention.
Phil, thank you for that question. I would like to come back to what President Biya said in 1985 during the first ordinary Congress of the CPDM in Bamenda. He said, and I quote, "Cameroonians do not need to go into hiding or to go into exile or to abandon their families while expressing their ideas." That is what President Biya said, as somebody who brought rigor and moralization into public life. Somebody who wanted that public life should be sanitized, leadership should be democratic. But with the coming of the Minister of Territorial Administration, I'm very sorry to say this, that the minister of our present Minister of Interior has gone ultra-virus. He has gone above his pass. Immediately...
Which Minister of Interior are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Minister of Territorial Administration of our nation, Mr. Paul Atanganji. Immediately, Anise was arrested. He had an interview with a lawyer in which he is said to have affirmed that it was good news that Mr. Anise should die, and that he was prepared to give a coffin for him to be buried.
Now, do you think that
let me finish.
Yeah, but before you proceed, he was being detained by the security forces. Do you think he was being apprehended for not doing any wrong?
To be apprehended, the harmonized criminal procedure code, which went in force in 2007, which is
2008.
No, 2007, which is a harmonization of common law and civil law, with common law having the upper hand. That law was harmonized in order to bring in the respect for human rights in our justice system. But if you look at that law very carefully, you see that the harmonized criminal procedure code from 2007 up to now has been bastardized. It has been violated throughout. That code enshrines, bail. There is a particular way in which bail has to be. When somebody is arrested, he has a right to bail, what they call habeas corpus. When that person is sick, he has a right to medical treatment, to be even flown abroad for medical examination. But when you look at the circumstances surrounding the arrest of Anise Ekane, he was arrested on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, in Douala, and with his health situation, he was ferried to Yaoundé under very difficult conditions. And when he died, many people, the pictures went viral. He was chained in the hospital. So you see, just like the CRM militant who died in with chains in his legs, and many other cases, you see that picture tarnishes the image of our nation. Then the fact that his breathing mask, he was, and you said, Kane, we are not refusing that he was not sick. He was sick and he was on a life support machine. Immediately after he was arrested, a few days afterwards, that machine was taken away from him. And for about 2 weeks, he lived without that machine, which was providing him oxygen.
Do you have any evidence that the machine was taken away from him?
His lawyers, his two lawyers, Hippolyte Meli and Maître Emmanuel Sim, attested to that. These are legal officers. So if they claim that that machine was seized from him and he was deprived of oxygen for 2 weeks, you don't expect that man to have lived. Maybe if that machine was not seized, maybe this year would have come and ended without Anise Ekane dying, because illness is not death. To be sick is not synonymous to death. We have seen people who have been sick until people know that after the next 1 minute he will die, but that person survives miraculously and still lived again for 10 years. So you see, all what happened attests to the fact that the poor incarceration conditions in our prisons in Cameroon, as Prince Ekoso was saying. We need to do something. The Minister of Territorial Administration, he is taking rights into his hands. He wants to be the judge. He wants to be the magistrate. He wants to be everything. It is unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Lausen Numfo, for your contribution there. I come to you, Barrister Michael Ekelefag. In the course, a few days ago, the European Union had to attend some documents, sending it to the government of Cameroon, saying that some of the detainees that are under detention should be released, and this was provoked by, according to them, by the death of Anise Ekane. Do you think this union do have an upper hand to come to this nation and tell Cameroonian government what to do, just because of the fact that a political opposition party leader died, which of course is something that is going to happen to each and every Cameroonians?
Mr. Philip, when you talk about in every situation, there are always factors which trigger certain reactions. When we look at the European Union making such a declaration, these are institutions which give feedback to their accrediting nations about they are there like the eyes of their nation, their accrediting nations, and they give report daily. It may be a daily report, minutes report on what is going on in where their host countries. And so
must they determine what's supposed to happen in
Cameroon? They are not determining. It is just the question of irresponsible.
So if you have citizens that are not law-abiding, and the state of Cameroon is taking all the necessary measures to make sure that peace, stability do reign within the nation, and some other people are somewhere conversing or creating a situation fabricating situation. Do you think it's acceptable?
When the state of Cameroon is going to the to the European Union and other bilateral partners and multilateral partners to seek for help, they go and they plead as if they are coming to help these people. They are coming to improve on the living conditions, do this. But when they get the fundings, they come, and when they want to tell them this is not this, we think that this is a way you can manage situations, the government of Cameroon becomes the most wise government that can exist, which is adamant to advise.
So you are telling Cameroonians, and you're telling the government of Cameroon that they have no right to make sure that they do sanitize the society against any moral decadence or anything that jeopardize the peace and stability of the nation.
A government which does not care about the welfare of its own citizen. What are we saying here? I think that when we are talking about the death of Anissa Dekane, which is who was a political figure, it is a call that I will equally address to my brother Prince Ekoso, who is a president of a political party, that they should look into the issue. They should look into these pressing issues in our nation, because when you look at Anissa Dekane and others who have been mentioned, these are just a handful of the few who, because of their public order, they benefited. We can come to discuss with their cases on a platform like this. There are Cameroonians who are dying on detention.
If the state says it's going to carry on investigation to provide evidence for his death, is that not something that worthy of appreciation?
We are talking about Anissa Dekane today. When was Monseigneur Bala, who was of the Catholic Church, I mean a neutral institution which is not that of which is an apolitical institution, as we are talking today. There was the same commission of inquiry or investigation created. What is the outcome of that investigation today? That, as a journalist, if you have any information, you can inform me. We are living with people, I think, with inhuman leaders. This is the word we should tell them. They are inhuman in their treatment. Why can you think that we can organize elections and we begin to persecute Cameroonians? We don't need persecution today in our country. This is persecution, and he said the case of Anissa Dekane, investigation was ongoing. The case of Anissa Dekane is persecution. We should not mix words. If this is persecution, political persecution. We cannot continue, we cannot build a nation based on vices. We should be a nation based on values, based on some moral consideration for one another. So if we are talking about, if we want to build, we are talking about the criminal procedure today. That law is there. The facilities are there. The medical, you have certain rights, certain prerogatives which have been made clearly expressed by this law.
The state of Cameroon is a state of law, and it is a state that does not accept any form of aggression or any idea of insurrection. And the government of Cameroon or the authorities that be are sparing no efforts to make sure that you and I, those who are watching us, live in peace. But when somebody do carry on certain moves that's going to destabilize the nation, and the government or the authorities that be deems it fit to take the person under custody so that they can carry on investigation, but in the course of it something happened, are you going to attribute that to the state of Cameroon?
I think Prince Ekoso has been trying to answer you this issue of the issue of medical attention given to Cameroon.
He was being taken. No,
excuse me. Let me come. If he was being taken to the hospital,
that shows that
if he was being taken to the hospital, but do you know about medical evacuation in this country? And do you know of cases who have been evacuated? So was the case of I don't caution that, but that is the practice which is in place, that the government practices medical evacuation. Why could Anissa not be evacuated? If his health condition was well known, as Prince Ekoso has said, and that if it was necessary for him to be remanded, he should be provided the necessary facilities which met with his conditions. So if I said there is, the lawyers alleged to have applied for the transfer, the change of the medical facilities on the 30th of November, but this was giving deaf ears to that application. So if he died, and we are talking about, it's not, it's, to me, we need to move out of
Barrister,
about
Barrister,
that, but we need to
Barrister, of course, that they were supposed to conduct an autopsy. It has not yet been done, and you can't say it is because of the fact that he was being detained that was why he died.
The autopsy will not bring back the life of Anissa Dekane. Other autopsies have been conducted, but we are talking about the role of the nation is to promote life. It is not to give results to death cases. And like I will say, Mr. Phillips, the greatest ill of this nation is not what we are talking about, the threatening of public peace and security that Minister Atanganje and his comrades are doing in the name of protecting Cameroonians. No, the greatest ill of this nation is embezzlement of public funds. And this is, I think, if we have to fight, let's fight from this.
Which is a disturbance of public order.
This is the greatest, I mean, it causes people to die if we are talking about medical.
So you're telling the authorities now that they should not focus on those who are sick. They should focus on the fight against corruption. That's what you are saying.
What I'm saying is this: to say that,
so the initiative of the government taking him to the hospital to provide better health condition was wrong.
Initiative of a government, a government which is, like I say, an association. The government of Cameroon works like an association of some people, a handful of some close collaborators who have their mission, and they don't care about the welfare of the nation.
Thank you, Barrister Lekelefak, for your intervention. And of course, it is no news that we have people who do share a lot of concern with the death of Anissa Kanebe. The question that lies now is what actually happened. Was it, of course, orchestrated? They are giving their own opinions, and I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Nufo Lawson. I know you have a lot to say. Let me commence with the national president of the USDP party, who had a closer collaboration with the former opposition party leader, Prince Ekoso. Of course, Prince, you have been giving a lot of declarations, a lot of information concerning the ill situation that was surrounded by his death. And do you think that the government needs to do a lot in order to protect opposition party leaders in the country when it concerns e-health?
Well, Philip, thank you once again for that fundamental question. You know, as a leader, my concern is about Cameroonians. You know, and I want to say this. The situation of our country calls for a lot of concern in a lot of different domains. The aspect of terrorism should be an aspect that all Cameroonians should be concerned about, to fight against terrorism. But there are certain aspects that can actually promote terrorism, or that can provoke terrorism. And what is terrorism in the first place? And what was the reason why this law against terrorism was carved in our context? It was because the government felt that, especially with the advent of the Anglophone crisis, the government felt that there were the possibility for a group of people to carry out certain actions that will actually undermine the authority of the state. That was the main reason why that law against terrorism was carved. And there are certain elements in our society that creates the tendency of terrorism in ordinary lives of Cameroonians. One of them is the fact that when Cameroonians do not have, you know, medical facilities, people go to the hospital they are not being taken care of. I think I mentioned some time ago, some of the problems in our country is the issue of, you know, let me put it in this economic jargon, customer service, where people they are not concerned whether it's at the level of government service or it's at the level of private service. People are not so much concerned about their brothers and their sisters. It is like government is not just there just to be able to implement laws in very stringent measures. Government is there to be able to coordinate the lifestyle of the people and to make sure that the people live in very healthy conditions.
So you're telling us that it is due to the fact that there was an absence of community engagement or love. That was why we had the situation that we have in Cameroon.
No, I've tried to explain something. I've digressed a little bit from your question just to beef up your question in my response. So I want you to follow very well, because you asked me questions in the middle of my buttressing my fact.
It do correlate.
You made me to lose focus.
Continue.
So what I'm trying to say is that our country is in a state where we need a lot of concern for each other. Whether you are a government minister or you are the president of the republic, remind us that during the inaugural speech of President Paul Biya on the 6th of November 2025, he mentioned, amongst other things that he said, that he has understood that Cameroonians are going through frustration.
A lot of frustration. I like that sentence.
The frustration has a cause.
Yes.
I am sitting here, I endorse President Paul Biya during the presidential election. And many Cameroonians voted for him because I endorsed him. Even though that has costed me a lot of bitterness and anger from some quarters. But I understood the intricacies of the nation at this point in time. And I felt that President Biya still has something to offer to the Cameroonian people. And one of those aspects is because I have seen him validate the medical response of certain Cameroonians in this country. And they went out of the country being treated, and they came back and they are well. Why could they not take the same measures in the case of Anise Ekane, who has been a very active actor since from the 90s till this moment?
Now, do you think that it was done because of the difference of political ideology?
No, that, I am talking about negligence here. I want to believe that if you go to the heart of hearts, looking at the statement of the Minister of State, Minister of Communications, his first statement, and even some of the interview that he granted to this lady, this Cameroonian journalist who is based in America, Fobin, the Minister of Communication expressed a lot of, embarrassment. So what we are saying, or what I'm saying, is that I did not support President Biya for this election to find myself in this kind of situation where Anise Ekane is dying because of negligence. He died because of negligence. I am away from that school of thought. People are saying that he was killed. Maybe their allegations of saying that he was killed is based on maybe the aspect of negligence. But to say that he was actually purposefully killed, for me, that is a completely no. But the aspect of negligence is paramount in these circumstances, because there are different statements from different quarters that express, or even not only about the case of Anise, but there are many cases in our country that we have seen the negligence of maybe some state personnel to certain issues about the country, and that leads to certain things. So I want to believe that we should be able to implement the laws of our country and implement them stringently. But at the same time, we must also understand that the law has a humanistic side of it, and it has also the other side that is very, very stringent. And if we put both sides together in the management of our country, we will be able to do the things that are required by that same law and by our citizens.
and to make sure that our country becomes very harmonious by the laws and by the aspect of our humanistic tendencies. It is paramount.
Thank you very much, Prince Ekoso, National President of the USDP party in Cameroon. The activists, civil society activists are known for Lawson. You have a lot, you are boiling inside. You have a lot to tell Cameroonians in relations to this. Now, we are coming towards the end of this first phase of the program. Now, tell us, Anise Ekane is no more. You are not happy with the circumstances surrounding his death. Are you attributing it to the government? Or are you attributing it to the lack of medical facilities? Or are you saying that his situation or his family didn't take a lot of care to make sure that he received a good medical condition?
I am queuing up with Prince Ekoso. In fact, he has made a very nice point. You know, Anise's death is linked to outright negligence, callous insensitivity of our leaders to the plight of prisoners. 80% of the inmates in Cameroon's prisons are people who are awaiting trial. 80%. It is unacceptable. Let me tell you something, to queue up with what he said. A few years ago, President Biya allowed the former Prime Minister, Noni, to be flown out for medical treatment. He did same for Ababa,
but his case was different. Anise's case is different due to the fact that he is under detention, and there are procedures that needs to be taken before
they have prisoners.
Such a situation do happen, and the state hasn't refused that such a situation can't be afforded or given to the person that just died.
Phil, what I'm saying is that if these leaders could be evacuated, Enoni, the son of Ifoso, and even Ababa could be evacuated for medical care, why could the same situation not be given to Anise Ekane? I have something that boils in my mind. In this country, we have a certain tendency that when somebody is arrested at regional level for a crime or for a felony, that person must be first accused. If that crime was committed, the person is flown to Yaoundé and to be heard by the military court. The Criminal Procedure Code makes it very clear that if you are arrested and the law finds out that you are a personality of moral standing, good or moral standing, you can stay in your house and attend court sessions. You are not obliged. They are not obliged to go and detain you. A person of Anise's caliber could stay in his house, more to that being sick, he could stay in his house and attend court sessions, not to be, ferried to Yaoundé under very difficult conditions only to die in cell. It is unacceptable.
But if he would have had the opportunity to stay at home, don't you think some of the allegations that were being labeled against him would have maybe aggravated? That was why the authorities that had to secure him in a situation, in an environment, so that he can be taken care of. And being taken care of, he was being taken to the hospital. But unfortunately, what happened.
Phil, his condition in prison, in detention, in that administrative detention, he was in an administrative detention, and he was deprived of his oxygen mask and several other things. He did not have access to his medical team the way he ought to have done if he were.
He's no more.
Yes.
Right now, what do you think can be done to avoid such situations in Cameroon?
We have to improve on our prison conditions, and we have to. Now you are talking about the way forward. The way forward is that let us reform our prison situation in Cameroon. Our prisons are they are in a sorrow state. We improve on our incarceration system. We make sure that the harmonized criminal procedure code is applied to the letter, because that law is wonderful. If it is well applied, the human rights of inmates will be respected. But we have a system where I've said here time with that number that Cameroon is a heaven in its laws, but a hell in its applications. We have very good laws, but we don't apply them. The way forward, as you have said, please, I am using this platform to appeal to government, the Prime Minister, head of government, to call some of his ministers to order. And one of such ministers is a minister of territorial administration. He has outstepped his bounds.
The government, of course,
yes.
The government
Secondly,
do have their government, and you can't, of course, maybe dictate what is actually going to take place, because
we are making proposals to our government.
They do have a policy that has been put in place, and the mentality that you have, it is not the same mentality that some other Cameroonians do possess. So they need to balance the society in such a way that you and I and those who are watching, of course, live in peace and in harmony.
Our government needs to dialogue with the opposition. Our government needs to dialogue with the political opposition in Cameroon. It is a categorical imperative. We cannot live in a country where for 10 years the president has not received the opposition as a group.
But there are so many.
The prime minister has not received the opposition as a group.
This is Prince Ekoso, who happens to be the national president of the USDP party. He endorsed the candidacy of President Paul Biya.
Yes.
He works with Paul Biya, meaning he do collaborate and do buy the notions or ideas of President Paul Biya. What kind of collaboration are you talking about?
No, I'm saying that our leaders, the PM, the President of the Republic, they need to officially have a dialogue with the political opposition. In fact, in the 1990s, the SDF came up with the fact that the opposition should be given an official status in Parliament. The leader of the opposition should have a special status so that he should fit into the protocol of the state. The opposition in Cameroon are treated, the opposition parties in Cameroon are treated like that. They are treated with a lot of neglect.
What kind of treatment?
With a lot of contempt.
What kind of treatment? Of course, these are opposition parties who are aspiring to become like the party that is existing or in power today. Do you think that they do have the same ideologies?
Cameroon is a semi-parliamentary system and a semi-presidential system. In a parliamentary system of government, the opposition, the leader of the opposition has a status in parliament that is respected. You cannot imagine that we have in an outing, the Minister of Territorial Administration tells a political party leader to go and buy a rope at the Mfundi market and go and commit suicide. He refers to a member of parliament as a nunus, and nothing happens to him. You insult a member of parliament? It doesn't work like that.
Thank you very much.
It doesn't work like that.
Of course, that's your own solution that you've given, and of course those who are watching are listening to you. Of course, the last word, we are coming to the end of this first phase of the program. Of course, there are some of the declarations that you do buy them, and there are some that you do not accept. Now, what, of course, solution are you expecting from the authorities that be to make sure that such a situation that happened to the former president of Manidem shouldn't happen in Cameroon?
If we are talking about president of Manidem, as I said earlier,
maybe also direct it to their family, because there are also some responsibilities that the family was supposed to take.
No,
don't
keep the family aside. Keep the family aside.
So
we have an irresponsible government. We have an irresponsible government.
Solution so that Cameroonians can benefit from your proposals in the days ahead.
The solution. The people are there. They know the solutions. The solution is clear. The prison and detention centers are not there to do justice, to render justice. They are there as some way of settling scores amongst
solutions. So that
the solution is that let's seek and do justice. If we are seeking for justice and doing justice, we shall avoid all these issues. But if it is a question of saying doing justice according to what we choose as justice for the people, we shall always have injustice in the society as we are having it today.
Thank you very much, Barrister Lekelefak. Thank you very much, televiewers, for your presence. Yes, you have one last word before we close. Just a few seconds, please.
Yes, basically, you know, people should understand that in Africa, the concept of prison was not there to be able to kill people.
That's it.
The concept of prison was to reform. It's a school. The prison is a school. If you go to developed countries like America, people are arrested and they are locked up,
and they go for what they call reformation.
But in Cameroon, it is being called recreational centers, Prince Ekuso. We know that it is being called recreational centers.
What is the meaning of recreational center that you
I have been to some of the
correctional centers, rather.
Correctional centers should not be a place. Have you gone to some of those prisons? Even in commissariats here, have you gone there?
It is labeled a correctional
center. So what
center,
I'm saying, what I want to propose,
that,
you are taking my time.
Before these people leave these areas, these correctional centers,
how many of them?
Mr. Philip, please, you are talking about a sensitive issue here. The prison center in Cameroon, you as a journalist, go and carry out your investigation. People go to prison and they come out worse than the way they got in.
So that is my proposal to the government, to the Prime Minister, to the Minister of Territorial Administration, and to the head of state, President Paul Biya. Please, we can improve on these detention centers.
Some few seconds, please.
We can be able to make these detention centers, especially for young Cameroonians, when they go there, they should come out being better people. We can do that. We can make those prisons to become educational centers where people live there and they become very, very educated and they become very industrious and all of that. We can do that so that our people don't keep dying and people don't become worse than when they left, when they were arrested for crimes and so on and so forth. So we can do that. Let us make our prisons to become a place where people go there and they come back better.
Thank you very much, Prince Ekuso, for such an elaboration. Thank you, our dear panelists. Of course, we've come to the end of the first phase of this program. And the second phase is awaiting us, and there's a lot to discuss about and also a lot of information to dish out to Cameroonians. But before we continue, just let's take this very little transition and sip some water, and we'll be back in a moment. Thanks very much for joining us on this second part of your program, Game of Thrones. Of course, we dive directly to the second topic tonight, which of course is talking about truck drivers, the strike of truck drivers in Meganga. Is it legitimate? Of course, recently we saw how some truck drivers in the Adamawa region, precisely Meganga, had to come out massively to block roads and were striking based on a situation that transpired. According to them, a military officer or a gendarmerie slapped a truck driver, and at the end of the day, some of them were disgruntled, saying that they have identified a lot of issues concerning or relating to corruption and intimidation in this part of the country, or as they use this stretch of road. And of course, Cameroonians, we have people who are going to debate on this issue or share more light on this issue. Was this strike actually, or is it legitimate? These, of course, are the things that they are going to be discussing in the course of this program. I'll comment with you. Numfo Lawson Angwa, you are a civil society activist, and you have a lot of insight concerning this particular development in the Adamawa region of Cameroon. Now, tell us, do you think that a situation like this had to resurrect the manifestation of the truck drivers, right up to the extent that they had to block routes and deprive Cameroonians from using this stretch of routes?
Thank you, Phil. Before I go to the second part, please just permit me.
No, we are already done. We are already done with the first part. Please, we don't have enough time.
No, I would just.
We don't have enough time. You're killing your time.
Just 5 seconds.
You are killing your time.
Just 5 seconds. No problem. Just 5 seconds.
You're killing your time. Please, just continue.
So, I just wanted to plead that let Anise Ekane be given a state burial.
We are done with that. Please continue.
Yes. Then coming to our second topic, concerning the truck drivers in Meganga. I want to believe that, you see, this issue happened on the 4th of December, Thursday, 4th December, if I'm not mistaken, where a police officer or a gendarme slapped a truck driver on control. And the reaction was the truck driver taking his truck and blocking the route, and that he received support from the rest of his colleagues, and a situation that could have lasted, that could have been solved within 5 or 10 minutes, ended up taking about close to a week to be solved. Why this? It is the result of deep-seated grievances that these truck drivers have had against government for quite some time. You remember
against security forces? You're talking about what government are you talking about? Because at this moment we are talking about a situation between a truck driver and a gendarme, and these people are out there, they are on duty,
yes,
making sure that they do maintain peace and order, control these truck drivers. But at the end of the day, a situation like this do stem up. Do you think it is advisable or is it acceptable for a truck driver to use a situation or to maybe fight back at a gendarme? Is it okay by you?
It is not okay. It is not okay. But you see, you know, in English they say that when you are pushed, when you push somebody to the wall, the person can bounce back in any form. He can bounce back with a slap. He can bounce back with a kick. He can bounce back in any order. You see, the reaction of the truck driver simply tells you, you see, it tells you the deep-seated grievances that some of these people have had against our government, you know. And before this situation came to the fore, remember that the Minister of Transport, His Excellency Ngale Bibe, had held a consultation meeting with the syndicate of land transport officials in his ministry, in which he called on the syndicate of road transport operators to suspend security checks and all other controls on the road for as long as possible in order to downplay the ghost towns that were called by Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari. Unfortunately, that good move that the minister took was flouted by the Secretary of State for the National Gendarmerie, who, you know, in total disrespect of that measure, allow gendarmes to continue to carry out checks. And that is where, you know, these drivers took upon themselves now to bring up or to exercise deep-seated grievances that they have been nursing for quite some time.
These officers are out there to make sure that they do protect the life and property of Cameroonians.
It's true.
Meaning it is very obvious that along that stretch of road, anything can happen and there might be some kind of insecurity threat. So if these gendarmes do identify a situation that is not comfortable to maintain peace and stability within this area, do they not have the right to manifest or intervene?
This stretch of road, the Douala, Bangui and N'Djamena corridor, a distance of close to 2,000 kilometers, has 94 checkpoints with as many as 106 police controls. And these controls, during each of these controls, there is a lot of extortion and corruption orchestrated by men and women in uniform. And this has been going on for long. And the government of Cameroon and Chad and Central Africa have had a lot of consultation meetings on how to sanitize movement along this corridor. And our government has a good will to do that work so that that transport line, so that that communication should flow. But we have we have some unscrupulous men and women within our security who think that when they wear that uniform, it is an opportunity, you know, to make fast money for themselves, for self-aggrandizement.
So are you telling us that the gendarme that had to intervene in this situation was out to extort? That's what you're saying?
Phil, we are telling you that that road has a lot of corruption. There's a lot of corruption on that highway, a lot of extortion. And sometime in November 2024, the government of Chad even went as far as signing a contract with the government of Equatorial Guinea to see how to divert using the Douala, Bangui, N'Djamena stretch of corridor because of all these harassments. They signed a contract with the government of Equatorial Guinea in order to avoid this stretch of the road and to use the port of Bata for the transit of their goods. It tells you that there are lots and lots of problems on the Douala, Bangui, N'Djamena corridor.
Thank you very much for your intervention, Lawson, a civil society activist. I come to you, the national president of the USDP party, Prince Ekoso. The strike, of course, is something that you do. Do you welcome a situation where truck drivers are no longer abiding to the forces of law and order? A situation or an action from the forces of law and order, to them, they do consider it as violating their rights. And at the end of the day, they are now creating an atmosphere of tension, blocking other Cameroonians from manifesting or go about their daily activity. Do you accept, do you entertain, do you perceive this as legitimate?
We are in a state of law in this country, and any violation of that law is supposed to be prosecuted, whoever you are. The using of physical fist on any individual in the Cameroon context is an offense. You have mentioned that the gendarme slapped the truck driver. The gendarme is not there to be slapping people on the street. Now, if it is validated,
that was actually what they said.
That is what we are saying the same thing. It is alleged that the gendarme, let me put it in this language so that you don't feel frightened that I am maybe
nobody is
in your mouth. So what I'm saying is that it is alleged that the gendarme slapped the truck driver. Nobody is authorized to be slapping people on the street. If that was what happened, the gendarme should be arrested. I must tell you that this country is a country of law and order. If you go to the Quartier General, there are cells there. You have military people who are locked up for abusing the rights of Cameroonians. So people should not think that because they wear police uniform, gendarme uniform, military uniform, they are above the law. So they are not above the law. Now, let me land.
Prince Ekoso, you are talking about
let me land.
You're talking about you land. Of course, you already landed. You're talking about being above the law, and you and I, Cameroonians, know that the National Gendarmerie and the other collaborating forces are out there to maintain peace and order, and they do have a duty on that stretch of road. Do you think it is appropriate for a truck driver not to abide to the instruction of a military person taking care of his security?
You have asked that question. This is the second time. Let me answer the question. I have started with the alleged incident, which you have mentioned on this panel, that it is alleged that the gendarme slapped the truck driver. That is not the role of the gendarme, if at all that was what happened. Number two, the truck driver or those who are plying our roads throughout the national territory are supposed to have their documentation. And if they have their documentation and they provide their documentation and something else go beyond their documentation, then it is something else. And I believe that the Ministry of Transport has put up certain procedures via which some of these truck drivers can be able to report any incident. We have seen in several occasions where some hierarchies of the gendarme are on the highway controlling and trying to be able to indict some of these gendarmes or police people who are taking bribe on our roads. We have seen that. So what I'm saying is that this country is a country of laws, and nobody is called to be able to abuse the law. Therefore, it is important that both the gendarmes, the police, and Cameroonians, especially on our highway, should respect the law. The incident that happened in Meganga recently is one of the very, very, very unfortunate incidents in the life of our country. Because, just like my brother said, we are coming out from a situation where we are trying to be able to see how to appease the people, not to be able to become very, very aggressive with regards to the issue of the call by Mr. Chiruma for people to go on lockdown and so on, strike and all of that. We have not finished trying to be able to appease the people. We have this incident now that has taken several days and more than a week.
it is uncalled for. Those who provoke this incident should be arrested, whether it is the camion drivers or it is the gendarme. They should be arrested, because we are in a state in our country where we want peace to reign. Anybody who provoke an incident like this one should be looked into, whether you are a gendarme or whether you are a police, whether you are an army or whether you are a truck driver. Number two, I was going to ask, my brother was talking about the different control stations from Douala to Kuseri, and yeah, there are exactly 94. Somebody sent me, when this incident were happening over there, people were sending me information and were asking my opinion about the situation. How do we have 94 police control and gendarme control from Douala to N'Djamena? I mean to Kuseri. For what reasons?
Security, of course.
No, listen. The security is not only on the highway. Security is not only on the highway for carrying out.
The target is to make sure that they do protect the lives and property of Cameroonians who are parading the road.
Mr. Philip, let me tell you, you form part of the security system of our country, if you don't know.
It's true.
Cameroon is one of the countries that has a lot of high-level security, because the citizens participate in the security information, providing security information for the state. You are part of it. Maybe you don't know. And the head of state has security report that comes on his table on daily basis, even on things that happen in people's private rooms.
But they do have, of course, associations.
They have been abused.
Why these truck drivers had to table their complaints to?
That is why I'm saying that the driver who went and blocked the road has violated a law. He should be arrested. The gendarme, if it is alleged that he slapped that truck driver, he should be arrested. Those are extremes. Those are extremisms.
Yes.
You don't do that. And that is why I am here, to be able to continue to say that that is not the reason why I endorse President Paul Biya. I endorse him because I felt that there is something that he has to contribute to make sure that our country remains peaceful. And if there are people who want to continue to make sure that our country is on consistent tension, like incidents like this one, the people should be looked with a lot of criticisms. And we are calling on the Minister of Transport, the Minister of Defense, the Secretary of State for the Gendarmerie, to look at this issue of control on our highways. Because we cannot continue to live in a country where we are suffering from poverty, and the people who are supposed to be able to protect us, they are part and parcel of bringing corruption on the platter of gold. We cannot accept that.
Thank you very much.
That is why this control, the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Defense and the Secretary of State for the Gendarmerie should look at these 94 control stations. They are here. The names of the places are there. Check on all those places. Who is there? Who sent them there?
Many of them are illegal.
If it is not the Secretary of State or a colonel or any hierarchy who assigned all of these control stations, then they should be closed down with immediate effect, yes, so that Cameroonians can be able to carry out their business. Because all of these things like this, it brings money to the state coffers. If you delay transaction from the Douala port to N'Djamena or to Chad for 1 week, do you know how it costs the state?
Thank you very much.
It is important that all of these control stations, there are 94 of them, Minister of Transport, Secretary of State for the Gendarmerie, and Minister of Defense and Public Works. There are 94 of them here. If you don't have them, you can reach out to me. I'll be able to provide to you the certificate. They are here.
Thank you very much, Prince Ekoso, for such a notification. I'll come to you, Barrister Lekelefak and Michael. We are getting towards the end of this program tonight. Your own contributions concerning these strike actions by truck drivers in Meganga. Do you appreciate it? Is it worthy of appreciation that these drivers are maybe contesting the authorities of the military forces that have been set aside to protect them. Do you think they are right to go out there to strike and block the roads and deprive Cameroonians not to go about their daily activities, for food not to leave the northern part of Cameroon to come to the southern part of the country? Is it acceptable? Do you appreciate such declarations or manifestations?
You may see that if they are blocking Cameroonians from feeding, they have blocked themselves first before Cameroonians, because by striking, they are expressing their grievances, and they are consequently depriving themselves of the economic benefit they had to benefit. So you don't always see the issue of Cameroonians, but see them first as victims of some injustice. Nobody who is happy will go to the street to protest. And if, as a truck driver, I see that my own way of making my right heard is to block the road. Today we are talking on the platform, and we are talking on a television set because he had the courage. That the drivers had the courage to block the road.
What do you
to call public attention?
When you talk about injustice, where did you perceive injustice?
If he was revendicating by blocking the road, it is making a revendication which perhaps they have been going through for a long period of time. I see you giving a lot of credit to the forces of law and order.
We are not giving credit. I'm just asking you questions.
No,
do you validate such?
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is this: I say when you give credit because my co-panelists, you have insisted on the question. Forces of law and order are there for their security.
Are they not there for their security?
Let me bring a simple example, and you answer for yourself if they are there for security or for other reasons. I'm not going to the Adamawa, but I want to take maybe you know very well the Southwest, from Motengene to my 17. I'm talking with respect to the Southwest Fako division.
Yeah.
You from my 16 to my 17. You have about 4 or 5 police checkpoints.
Yeah.
What are they there? Is it the security that after 100 meters we should have a control, and when they stop the cars, are they there to control papers, or are they there to settle different scores? You, as a journalist, you can go to carry out your investigation and you report to Cameroonians what you found it. But I've given you that. Go there. An interval. I think it is not up to 50 kilometers. 50 kilometers. But you have about 4 different police, gendarmes, military. Military. They are carrying on controls on the road, controlling public transport. So you can ask yourself if they are there for the security or they are there for other reasons.
So are you telling the authorities that they should reduce the number of checkpoints in Cameroon so that vehicles to move freely, or are you saying that those who are wanting to strike or asking for their rights to do so no matter the circumstances?
Strike action is a constitutional right. It is under which condition, if we strike and our strike do not undermine it may be
the rights and duties of other people,
and it is our right to strike. So I give credit to the camion driver who has striked. If he has striked, if he has committed any offense, let the offense be prosecuted. But in which case I think they can benefit from mitigating circumstances if their revendications are authentic. What we need to understand as a government is not that at every material time we think that we have to make resort to force. What we need to understand is, when you see somebody, Mr. Lumfo, crying that it is not well, don't come to say who are you to, but you have to go. We're talking about transport. I think when you look at the camion, there is a matriculation and there are documents which can be followed. That if you see that it is blocked, we can go right to the owners to know who owns this camion, to understand from them what are your drivers giving as report on what they are getting.
Thank you very much.
You don't just come because you are government. This is not done. It's all in Cameroon that we find all this.
Thank you very much, Barrister Lekelefaka Michael, for your presence on set. Of course, we've come to the end of this program, Game of Thrones. It's been a pleasure having you tonight, and your deliberations, of course,
to
are very wonderful. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you very much also the civil society activists known for Lawson. Thank you very much. Time is against us, and we need to, of course, leave the podium for other programs to continue. Thank you very much for being with us. We just want to believe that in our next program, you're going to be here to edify Cameroonians on the ongoing situations in Cameroon.
You don't give me my last word. I came here with some words.
Thank you. Of course, Prince
Mr. Philip.
There's no time. Of course, we are running out of time. Thank you very much, our televiewers. It has been a wonderful night with us here on Info Television. Take the rendezvous again next week, Tuesday, for another program, Game of Thrones.